On today's episode, we're going over garage door symptoms and diagnosis. Google no longer. Today's episode's got it for you. Welcome to the Garage Authority Podcast, powered by A1. I'm your host, Jonathan Phillips, and today we have the return of the one, the only, Bobby Bermudez. Hello, brother. How you doing?
How you doing, brother?
Yeah.
Glad to be here again.
No matter how awkward or far the high five is,
we got to do it.
It's tradition. On today's episode, I've been looking on the internet,
Right.
And that's why I want to bring you on. You are the training center manager, right? You oversee all training that happens in the academy. Now me, if I were for some reason not involved in garage doors and happened to come across a podcast about garage doors,
Right.
I would want some information as a homeowner about symptoms.
Okay.
About diagnosing and what's going on with my garage door. And I'm just like, cool, we're going to have the two top trainers at A1 hash it out and talk about symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're listening at home, if one of these symptoms seems to be your thing, maybe we're going to give you the answer today. I'm not going to lie. Garage doors, there's black and white,
Right.
and there's a bigger section of gray. All right. Depending on the install, the garage door company itself, the maintenance, there's a lot of things that it can be. But today we're going to get you on the right track. So lots of clients, and I pulled the most common things that people, because people, they want to go to Google.
Absolutely.
They want to go to Google. And when they go to Google, they say, why won't my garage door open or close?
Well, I mean, it could be a number of variables
Yeah.
at that point. You could be as simple as power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you remember going to calls right there. It says, my garage don't work. You look up, okay, it doesn't work. You look to your right, the water softener is completely black.
Yeah.
Must be a power issue. So go around to the breaker, check your breaker. That is key right there.
Yeah.
Check your breaker for the most part for power. Check your remote. Easy. Check your remote. Maybe you don't have batteries in the remote.
Mm-hmm.
So some other common doesn't open. Do you hear it? Do you hear anything? So if you do hear something, it could be broken spring.
Mm-hmm.
The operator could be a broken operator. So there are some variables, most definitely, on why the garage won't open.
If I broke it down into reasons that it's actually two different things when we talk about whether a garage door is opening or closing, because there's safety factors for both of those that the operator does. So starting with garage door won't close, number one thing to look at, safety eyes.
Absolutely. Safety eyes.
Safety eyes, you have your typically green and amber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your green one is like the saying good to go. So it's going to be the one that flashes. So if that's flashing or if it's flickering, and it's kind of hard to tell with older motors because that light dims a little bit. So you just kind of want to play with it a little bit. And sometimes it can just be sun hitting that safety eye.
It could be as easy enough just clean them off.
Clean them off.
Because they're dusty, they're dirty. One of the number one things homeowners do is put the trash cans in and out the garage every day. Okay, look, we all have packed garages as homeowners. We all got ladders, we got tools. And what do? Where do we put this stuff?
Right in the corners.
Right in the corners right there. So from anything falling over, a broomstick, anything like that, you hit those safety eyes, you're going to have that exact issue.
Safety eyes, and then also could be a forces issue. Well, there's actually a couple things that the operator could be. So forces is what the door's willing to push or pull through. Mm-hmm. So it typically wouldn't happen right at the top. Usually it's going to go for a little bit and the door's going to test out, am I pushing through too much? Sometimes that can be a spring tension thing, like there's too many winds on it. Other times it could be like there's something in the track, like especially if you go out to your garage door and those little slide locks that they do.
Absolutely.
Some people, they just kind of wiggle out or get hit and bumped, and then that slide lock is like in the track and your motor's hitting that. Or a lot of times there's two things in operators as far as closing. So there's safety eyes, so technically three things. But inside the motor, there's something called your RPM and your travel module. Now, in newer motors, they're combined into one little chip. But the purpose of them is it lets the door know where it's at, and it also lets the door know what it's going to push and pull through. And that travel module, how far it's willing to go up and down, forces what I'm going to push through. So usually if it's a forces issue, your garage door will move like 3 inches and stop. You'll hit the button again, 3 inches, stop. So it just kind of moves inches at a time. Because if that RPM isn't working, the door doesn't know that it has to mostly do with forces. So it's a safety feature, like, I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on.
and
So
at
we're just
that
going to
point, you need
stop.
to stop there.
Stop.
That is not a DIY.
No.
That is not a DIY. That is time to call a professional.
Yes. And then another thing is those travel limits. Whenever that's wrong, it's like your door goes almost through full motions, but it
Mm.
stops like maybe a foot off the ground. Sometimes it goes a little bit too far to where it like hits the ground and then pops back up, but it's very inconsistent about its full open and its full close. So those are probably the main reasons on like why your door won't open or close. And then also any manual, that you have, you can look up the model and there's a diagnosing page in the back. And the coolest thing about that is motors most of the time are smart enough to flash or click a certain amount of times.
Right.
So if it has any issue and you start to hear like a click, 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 count it. And then if you find that manual based off how many clicks, like 10 for lift masters, safety eyes, especially on the older ones, it'll tell you what's going on with that operator, whether it be a forces because it's a spring issue, something in the track. So there's a lot of information out there for homeowners to
Most
kind of
definitely.
self-diagnose. Now, if you find if any of those things were wrong with the operator or the spring system, don't touch it. One more time, we'll make it a little jingle. Don't touch it. Okay? Sometimes the DIY, we went from our door doesn't work to where we tried to do a repair and then the door ran so hard that it broke in half and now we're having to buy a new door. So let's just get a professional out there to take care
Your
of
simple
it.
repair then
Yeah.
turns into a big repair if you don't know what you're doing half the time.
Yes, it's huge. Now, another big thing that clients, whenever they're doing research, is they want to know why your garage door or their garage door is making a lot of noise. So what are like key points on the door that you look for?
Key points. So if we're grinding, if you hear a grinding noise, there's metal on metal somewhere. Could be door itself grinding on the tracks. It
Mhm.
could be rollers that are pretty much stiff, that they're frozen. Just rollers are supposed to roll.
Yeah.
If not, they're going to be grinding on metal on metal.
Nice little e-brake.
Little e-brake right there. That goes into squealing. So if you hear high pitches, lubrication. Your
Mhm.
rollers could be the number one thing right there for noise.
Yeah.
Old rollers, metal rollers, you can hear
Mhm.
that high squeak. Banging. If you hear a bunch of banging, we've all heard that banging
Yeah.
right there. Could be panels. Your panels are cracked and it's not going into the tongue and groove correctly.
Right.
Could actually be your springs at the same time because
Little
they
chatter.
are as they're rotating, they're worn. There's no lubrication. You have popping. That's another common thing. Again, back to your springs right there. Springs start to pop over time. You have, again, goes towards your panels. Your panels are popping. If they're not lined up, every time it goes over a radius, you're going to be hearing that popping sound. So
Yeah.
there's quite a few things that can make a noise.
The biggest my favorite thing to do, or because I have family, obviously, and some of that family isn't within a serviceable A1 area.
Okay.
So I had a family member call in, and they were just like, "Hey, my door's making this metal on metal, this squeaking sound. Like, and I want to know exactly what it is." So we did a process of elimination spray down. So first we started with the rollers.
Okay.
Noise is still there. I was like, okay, now you're going to do the bearings. Noise is still there. Okay, now you're going to do the hinges. Stopped. Okay, because you see what I'm saying? We just do a bit at a time, run the door, and then you can find exactly where that noise is coming from. You spray the whole door and it goes away, and you're like,
you don't know where it is.
I don't know where that was, but the noise is gone now. So just, find a moving part. You can do everything one at a time until you find that critical key point. Another thing with that popping of the door is the structural integrity that door is made out of. There's going to be a lot more noise with a band door. I would almost say there's more noise with a vinyl back door because now not only do you have metal flexing and vibrating and doing all that, but now you have styrofoam that's just like
squeak, 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 squeak all the way down. Yeah.
Just all the way through it. So what you want to really look at whenever your door goes up in the air, you want to see if that door's sagging while it's horizontal. Now, we have two options. We can strut that thing up like a structural integrity package, kind of minimize that, or just get a better, stronger door. You know what I mean? If you're going to put so much money into it, rebuilding the whole thing.
Put the investment in your home.
Yeah. And, if it's a good door and it's not, you don't see a reason to get a new door, maybe steel back and insulation is not your jam, tank that thing out, dude. Like, get any company out there to just do struts. if it's not a DIY thing, because the more struts that you add to it or the better hinges or rollers, that affects weight. So now if you do all that stuff to keep all those panels straight, well,
You
now we need to
affect the
change your
springs.
springs. And now if we don't affect the springs, now it's going to make your operator work too hard. And now we, to solve one symptom, we've created 5 other ones that are
Right.
going to come
It's funny
down.
is we know a good company that could do it all.
Yeah, do it all. So I get some people calling sometimes, and I usually see this in Phoenix out here. I see it in Sun City, which those that greatest generation, those World War II or raised by World War II people. God bless them, because I'd always get calls out there where older man, retirement. They don't want a garage door operator. They're still doing it by hand because that's
Oh,
just
wow,
what they're
yeah.
used to. And he called me out, and he's just like, am I getting old, or is this garage door getting heavy? Why is this thing so heavy? And I knew the reason why, but explaining to him, if you were me, why is the garage door so heavy if I'm lifting it manually?
Well, it sounds most likely that your springs are worn out. So you could have a broken spring.
Mhm.
Easy enough as you go out there, look up, and if you see the spring separated, it's a broken spring.
Yeah.
We all know the springs are the counterbalance of the door. You should be able to lift that door with one hand less than 5 pounds off the ground.
Right.
So if they're saying it's heavy, broken spring,
Mhm.
or it could be on a double spring where you look up and the springs are intact. But one of those, it's just worn out.
Just losing that
It's
tension.
just worn out. Very simple. You could have a 2-spring system. One is worn out,
Yeah.
and the other one is good. So there's just variables on why that door could be heavy.
One of the biggest things that people don't consider, once again, getting into the structure and makeup
Yeah.
of the door, is during the winter, if you have a wood door, that door can absorb moisture. And
yeah.
out here, it happens at wood doors during like
Mhm.
monsoon season, because especially if they're not treating the door, that wood's just so dry that
Oh,
any
yeah.
moisture that they finally get into it, because they're not treating it yearly like they're supposed to, and then it just sucks it up like a sponge. So they're just like, well, my door was good when you guys were here 3 months ago, and just did a tune-up. We didn't do springs or anything, and they're like, and now it's really heavy, and my operator's like struggling. It's like, your door's 60 pounds. Now
Pounds.
we can wait for that to, what's the word for it?
Dry out.
to dry out, to evaporate, right? To evaporate out of the door, but it's going to happen again next season. So do we want to treat the door and be done with this, or do you want a low maintenance door
Exactly.
to where you don't have to deal with that?
The wood doors are beautiful, but we all know
Gorgeous.
they have a lot of maintenance that homeowners don't know. And you could have got inherited wood doors. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Until you find out what you have to do every year.
Yeah, it's not a set it and forget it anymore. So what garage door problems, in your opinion, like if you, a friend, a family member called you and they were like, I'm having this issue, like what's like your top 1, 3, 5, however many you want to do? If they said, I'm seeing this symptom, and you're like, don't do anything, don't touch it, call someone now.
Your springs, if they see a spring, if they see a spring broken, stop. Don't play with it. It's too dangerous, too much tension. Frayed cables, the cables that lift the door on the
Yeah.
side. Some of them, if they're hanging by one thread, if you start seeing them, like, don't touch it. Call a professional. I know there's one more main one. Drums. So if you're looking up on the side right there, if you see the cable over the drum, or if you see something off balance, stop. You need to call a professional right there.
Yeah.
Those are my 3. Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Now, I also wanted to get into, just because we're rolling on the subject, one thing that I see happen with operators a lot is it's radio frequency, the older ones. Now they're going over to Bluetooth with
The 3.0,
LiftMaster.
yep.
And a lot of symptoms that I see that people call us out for are just like weird remote stuff, weird keypads. All of a sudden it worked one day, now it's not working. So here's my point, and you
Right.
can. So with the radio frequencies, probably the easiest thing with any sort of keypad or remote is start with the battery every
Yes.
single time. Even if it starts to work intermittently, that's like the battery's going down. The next thing is like a lot of people get like these ghost openings, or they'll get it to where it's like it works some of the time. I replace the batteries. The interesting thing is, because some of those motors up until recently are radio frequency, is there's a lot of things in your house that really mess with frequency. It could be just the structure because it's a metal building. It could be, I've seen it, and the way that I diagnose it is I've seen everything from automatic irrigation systems to alarm systems to baby monitors to computers that are in the house. All of a sudden, they get some new item and it puts off a frequency. And it's been as something as simple as they're like, my remote doesn't work. And I look up and it's an LED light that's not designed to go into that motor that messes with the remote. So number one, check the light bulbs and replace them with just regular light bulbs.
Regular light bulbs.
And then two, whenever you're doing like a smart home, like just go to your breaker with your remote and just flip off a room, just shut it off and test your remote. And that's how I've been able to diagnose when I go to someone's home. It's like, hey, you haven't had this issue. We just installed this 3 years ago. Now we're having interference. Sometimes it's been a new radio tower or cellular tower that's gone up to where it's like, I can't fix that. But what happens is we'd start flipping off the breaker and then it's like, oh, now it works. What's in guest bedroom 2? They're like, oh, that's the baby's room. And I'm like, did you guys get anything? We just got a new monitoring system. Unplug it. Now the remotes work. Like there's weird things that can happen.
EMF, LEDs, you know, everything is going smart home LEDs. LEDs is one of the most common things that give out those EMF read and messes up the garages. So
people don't think about it at night. The lights that are next to your garage, and they come up and they're just like, my remote's not working at nighttime. Like, what's that? And I'm like, can you flip on your lights? And then the LED lights that they have for the outside, that's in between right the remote in the garage. So LED lights have their purpose, but what's really cool is Genie and LiftMaster have LED light bulbs that are designed not to interfere with remotes.
You can get those at your Home Depots, your Lowe's, they're right there.
Now, what can homeowners safely fix?
Lubrication.
Lubrication.
Lube your door.
Lube your door.
Yeah, I think that is the most safest ways. And just, you know, I say general maintenance. It's always a fine line if you're going to start tightening bolts. You know, we're all homeowners, you know, us guys, we could fix anything.
Yeah.
Go out to the garage right there. And I did it myself before knowing you shouldn't have touched that.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky. But I see something loose. Most of us we'll go tighten it. I mean, that's, if you're unsure of anything, I would say stop.
Yeah.
Call a professional right there. But lubrication, I mean, any homeowner could do it, and I encourage them to do that. You could buy a special lubrication at your Home Depots or at your Lowe's. Make sure it says garage. Anything like WD-40, please don't do that. It's just, it takes away.
Yeah. It's
water
bad.
displacement. Yes. Yeah. So we don't want that. That is the number one thing. Just the lubrication of the door. Other than that, I wouldn't have a homeowner touch it.
Yeah, I would say the last few things that they could also do are just your safety checks and visual checks. Now, whenever it comes to safety checks, your number one is your 3-point balance test. So that's when the door's down that we manually release it. And then that radius, that curve, once a panel makes it through there, you want to be able to let go of the door and it stays exactly where you left it. If there's like just a little bit, you're probably okay. But if it's like shooting up because the springs have too much tension on them or it's falling back to the ground, that means we have a spring problem. Don't touch that. Call a professional. Another one is a forces test. Some of these forces are, for lack of a better term, compounding. So the operator adapts over time, or the old manual ones where people turn that thing up to a 9. What you want to do is you want to put, I prefer a 2x6 board because it's a little bit wider.
A little bit wider.
And you want to place it on the ground at the center of the door, not on one side or the other. And you just want to run that motor attached to the operator until it hits that board, and you want to see that it pops up relatively quick. You don't want to it hit the board and you see like your operator rail like flex up and you hear a bunch of weird stuff happening. Like you don't, if that board doesn't kick it back up immediately, that's a board. We need to make sure that doesn't happen to a person. And then visually, what I would like for people to look at but don't touch it is I really want people to start paying attention to their bottom brackets. So the bottom bracket is at the bottom of the door, holds the bottom roller, but it also has an attachment point for the cable, which is what's going to transfer the torsion capability and the energy from the spring to the door. You want to look to make sure, 1, all the screws are there. 2, you're checking on the actual attachment point of the cable itself. And 3, what you want to do is kind of look at the side of the door. because what happens is doors, especially on like extension springs or if anything's crooked, it brings it up at an angle, and then the side of that bracket just rubs against the track. And then I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a house to where the door's sideways. It's now a blanket on top of a car. I look at it and it's like this just rubbed away over the past few years. So if you see any of those marks, get a professional. We need to realign that door.
Absolutely.
And get it replaced. And then my number one, check your spring pad. That should be above your door in the center. It's a block of wood. It's usually a 2x6, unless you're in Texas, and then cover it with sheetrock. Ridiculous. Be better, Texas. You look at that spring pad, that's what's holding all the tension of the spring that is lifting your door. And then I go to some of these and it's just like, oh, it's a nightclub for termites. Look how messed up that is. And it has cracks all over it.
Crack down the center. The center bracket's almost hanging out.
Yeah. And if that thing pulls loose, it's a buzzsaw and that door is not working anymore.
It's a danger. It's not only to the door, it's going to ruin the door, but it could be dangerous for anyone that's in the garage.
Yeah. Just we're having a thing that's 200-300 pounds moving. And then all of a sudden, the one thing that's holding the force that moves the door just busts out. How do you think that goes in the middle of travel?
Yeah.
Gravity wins every time. Every time. Brother, this was actually the most fun that I've had. Is there any final words that you want to have for the audience? Just door maintenance, symptoms, any last words?
Your garage is not set it and forget it. I mean, it is not. It needs love, just like an oil change for your car. Get your tune-ups annually. If you do that, I mean, you're going to be proactive instead of reactive, because we all know a garage will break at the worst time. When you're on your way to a doctor, on an appointment, you have to be there new to your work. It always happens on those days. Get your tune-ups done every year. Be proactive. That's my number one.
My brother.
All right, bro.
Thank you so much.